If you're talking more than 30% on your actual sales calls, you are losing deals. Not because you are bad at actual sales, but because you are doing what feels right instead of what actually is converting the sales call itself. And the worst part is this: most business owners who are thinking that they are good at actual sales are the ones that are losing the most revenue on the actual sales calls. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why your calls aren't closing and how to fix it without becoming too pushy, salesy, scripted, or too robotic. And if you are doing anywhere between 10 and 100K a month, chances currently are you are getting on a few calls. You are having good conversations with the prospect. Prospects probably also seem interested. But then at the end of the call, they give you something like, I need to think about it. Or I need to talk to my partner. Or now it's not the right time. This means it's not an actual leads problem, right? Most of you would say it's a leads problem or quality problem. That's not a leads problem. That's a call structure problem. And most advice online is currently telling you, build more rapport, handle objections better, ask better questions. That's not the actual fix. The real issue is this: your call is centered around you, not the actual prospect. So let me actually show you what I mean. When I say the call is designed around you, that you are actually talking too much on the call instead of actually listening. So let me break this down and show you the biggest mistake that I see when I review a lot of calls. I have reviewed over thousands of calls. I've done myself thousands of sales calls. So just want to show you what I really see, right? Most sales calls look like this. You explain your actual service, you pitch your process, and you justify your price at the end. Or let's just make it a little bit better. Sometimes it's like you ask 1 or 3 questions, maybe 4 or 5, right? Then you explain your service and how that fits exactly what they need. Then you pitch your process and you justify your actual price. And the prospect just actually listens, right? And that maybe feels productive because you're doing most of the talking and you feel like, hey, I'm also convincing, I'm showing them everything, ins and outs, right? But it actually is the number one thing that kills most deals for most founders. Because, right, let me explain. People don't buy when they understand you. They buy when they feel understood. It's not about understanding you. You have to understand them, where they're coming from, because they are the ones that buying. You are not buying. If you're buying from yourself, great. Talk as much as you want, right? But when you are trying to sell somebody else, you need to understand them, and they need to make sure for themselves that you really understand them before they actually step into any type of buying behavior. Okay? So let me give you a mini breakdown. A bad call example would be, so yeah, we help clients with lead generation, we run ads, optimize funnels, and do all the copywriting. We do absolutely everything, right? And prospect was like, yeah, that sounds good. And no emotion, there's no tension, there's no urgency, okay? A good call example, I'm just gonna give you a good call example. This is just a good call, right? Not a great one, but a good one. Walk me through what has been happening for the last 2 to 3 months inside of your business, right? So now what happens is, instead of we focusing on what we do, which is self-centered pitch, we go into doctor's mode. This is all about the prospect. Walk me through. Let me understand you. I want to better really see what's happening there, right? These type of questions that you're asking, now you're opening up more of your actual prospect for him to start talking and giving you the information that you can actually start working with. But when you're doing most of the talking, there's not enough information for you to actually work with, okay? So what ends up happening is now they're actually talking, okay? They also feel heard, and most importantly, you gain leverage because now they're sharing information with you that you can actually use, okay? Let's move on to the next part. There's not a real problem, right? And when there is not a real problem found on the call, it will never be an actual sale. So let me explain to you what I mean. Here's where most calls actually break when I look at it. You're trying to sell the solution, but before the problem has to be fully clear that you can actually sell the solution. Most of the times I have seen somebody asks a couple questions there and now. They're like, hey, so like, what do you feel like happens if you don't fix this in the next like 6 months, right? They ask a couple questions more, and then they don't really find the deep problem. Like, what is the problem? Okay, I'm not getting enough leads, right? Okay, awesome. So like, what happens if you don't get enough leads? Well, I just keep going. Okay, good, good, good. And then they keep moving. And then they get into this like pitching mode. But before you can get to the pitch, you really need to dive deep into the core of the actual problem. What is the core? Why they are on the actual call itself? You need to really get that out from them before you can show them the actual solution, right? If the prospect doesn't feel the cost of staying the same, or they don't feel the frustration of their actual current situation, or they don't feel the urgency to actually change, they will never move. And the only way to get to that state where they feel the urgency of change, where they feel frustrated at their current situation, where they understand the cost of staying the same and they want to change, it's only by asking deep, related, following questions. Right? I'm not saying asking questions. I'm saying deep, related, following questions. So you're building a compounding effect on the actual call, which every question that you ask, you have a related question to the previous question you ask. So you're not asking random questions. You're not saying, hey, what color was the car? And then the next thing is like, and what color was the sun? Right? So what you're saying is like, hey, what color was the car? Okay, and so what year was the car? So everything is related to the previous question. Okay? Just give me an example. That's when they start to move. But if they don't understand themselves, like, why should they actually go for it? Like, what's the cost of staying the same? Like the frustration, right? If they don't see the urgency, they won't ever move. Okay. And that's where most of people, founders on the calls are actually failing, or their teams are failing. Okay. So it doesn't matter even if your offer is great. Your offer could be great, but if you can't get the prospect on the call to really understand themselves that, hey, this is really frustrating me currently. Like, I must change or I will stay the same, which I do not want. Unless you show them that on the call, they will never buy into the actual solution, okay? So thinking pattern shift, stop trying to actually convince them, because most people are convincing. They ask a question, they feel like, oh, here, like they gave me a perfect answer and perfect gap for me to educate them why we are the best about specific this problem that I have. No. What you want to do, you want to build up on more problems. They give you maybe a one issue, they give you one problem, maybe they give you one really, really big constraint, or they have like, they really don't feel sure about something. Build on it. Go even deeper. Because the more deeper you go, the better answers you will get. And the better answers you will get, the more information you have in your hands to actually convert them, okay? So, stop trying to convince them and start trying to understand and amplify the actual problem. So lines you should be using, and this is just an example, right, is what is frustrating about that for you right now? Like maybe they say, hey, I'm not getting enough leads. So what is frustrating you about not getting enough leads right now, this moment? Or you know what, like, because I can't get enough closes. Okay, like, what's so frustrating about not getting enough closes? Like, oh, because I can't then make money enough to pay the bills, and I always have to work at my part-time job. Oh, and is that so bad thing? Well, no, but I really want to build a business. So like, but you're building a business, yeah, but it's kind of going really slow. And so like, what's frustrating you about that it's going slow? Is it not good? No, it's not good. And now they start to open up with you and they start giving you all the things, right? Now, another thing that I get asked is, how do I ask questions without kind of sounding more scripted? The best way to do this is at the start of your call, when the prospect just jumps on the call, right? You actually frame the call, right? So you go something through like, just give me an example, is, hey, John, so how these calls usually go through, just to give you some guidelines, in order for me to really understand if I can help you on this call, because I looked at your application last night, I kind of studied it. I know you need currently help, potentially an outside help with getting more leads inside of your company. But before I can actually give you a game plan, I need to first understand what's currently going on inside of your life. Like what's going on inside of your business. Based on that, based on my understanding what's going on in your life, what's going on inside of your business, like what's the situation, I can then honestly tell you if we are the right fit to work together. If we are not the right fit, I will forward you to somebody that potentially could actually help you. But if we are the right fit, I'm more than happy to actually show you the game plan. A game plan that can actually help you, because then I know our game plan will work for you. Does that sound fair? Yes, awesome. What you need to know is, in the middle of the call, I will ask you a couple questions. Some questions will be easy to answer, some not. But those questions are really needed for me to better understand you. Because what I'm trying to understand on this call will be, how does the game plan really fit into what you are currently doing, and how can it actually help you? That's why I need to ask you questions. Some questions will be easy, some not. Is that cool? Cool, awesome, let's get into it, right? So this is called the pre-frame of the actual call, right? And the reason you want to pre-frame it, because when you are on the call, you don't want to just ask them random questions and they get backfired, like, hey, why are you asking me so many questions? You want to make sure that you follow an actual flow throughout the call. And the flow only can happen if you have already pre-framed the entire call, okay? So that's one thing. And then every time you ask a good question, you should pause, let them think, and then don't rush yourself. So even I have sometimes when a person, like, I ask them a question, they're really thinking about an answer, let them think. Don't rush in, like, hey, let me ask you a different question. No. They're already thinking about it. Like, let them settle on it, right? And that's where the process of sales, trust, authority starts to begin. When you give them the time to think and you give them right questions to think about. Another problem that I see, you are skipping the actual gap, right? Every high converting call identifies current state, desired state, and the actual gap, right? So where they are currently, where they want to be, and the gap in the middle of what is actually holding them back to get to where they want, okay? So most people mention current situations briefly and then jump straight into actual solution. They're like, oh yeah, you have this problem, and let me show you actually what we do, okay? The gap is where the money is actually made, right? So example to give you, let's say somebody says, we're currently doing 25K a month, but we really want to hit that 100K mark. So now the gap is inconsistent pipeline, weak conversions, and no system. That is the actual gap. These three things currently are the money makers. So that's their actual problem. So instead of me, once they say we want to make 100K and I'm jumping straight in, I'm like, oh yeah, awesome, you want to make 100K, there's my solution, like we're just gonna rock and roll. No, you want to really understand the gap first. You want to show them the gap of what's really missing in order for them to actually get there, right? Because it's not just enough for you to actually pitch your solution. You need to show them why your solution actually makes sense, okay? So, call breakdown line. Something like, why do you think what do you think is actually stopping you from getting to where you want right now? So let's say, for example, they say, we are at 25K, we want to get to 100K a month. We've been trying to crack the code for, let's say, the last 7 months, haven't done it. And then a question, what do you think actually is currently stopping you to actually getting to that 100K a month? Now they diagnose the problem themselves, not you. That creates ownership of what the problem really is, okay? So most times I see on the sales calls, a lot of people will tell them what the problem actually is. Your job is not to tell them what the problem is. Your job is to make sure that they understand that they have the problem and they can put the finger on what the problem actually is. And then even if they face the wrong problem, then at the end, when it's time to present solution, then you can actually tell them what the problem is. But they need to have the accountability for really telling you that there is a problem, okay? Because it's not going to work to sell your solution if they don't admit that there's actual problem inside of their business. So another problem that I see, you are solving too early. This is an ego problem. You want to sound smart. You want to show the value. You want to impress the prospect with all the education and the knowledge you have, right? So you start solving immediately. But here's the problem. The faster you solve, the less they actually value it. Because it's like, oh, that's it? Awesome. Okay, awesome. So I don't need your solution because like, hey, boom, simple, boom, jump off the call. The rule of this type of selling, when you're actually on the call, you want to diagnose longer, but you want to solve the problem actually later. Okay, so the better flow of this would be, instead of here's what we do, you say, hey, before we get into that, can I ask you something? And then you go deeper. Hey, before I get into the actual game plan, can I ask you something else? Or maybe they will say, hey, what's the pricing like? What's the game plan? Hey, before we get to the game plan, I'm just going to get to the game plan, right? Before I get to that, just have one more question and then we get straight to the game plan because I don't want to kind of beat around the bush. Is that cool? I'm going to ask you one more question. Yeah, okay, boom, in again. So you're asking these questions. The questions are really important because you don't want to just ask them random questions. You want to ask questions where you really get answers out that matter the most, okay? So I want to give you something about, I worked with a client doing 30K a month, and there's something really nice about him, but then there was really something that was a disaster. He had a good offer, good traffic, but his closing was below 20%, right? On the calls, he was really confident, clear communicator, good at sales, but this is the biggest problem. He was talking 70% of the time. He was asking a couple questions, and then he was doing the talking. That was the biggest issue, okay? So what we changed, we only changed one thing. There's nothing much to change. We asked more, and we actually told him to talk less and slow down the diagnosis. We just said, hey, talk less, listen more, ask more questions, and slow down everything. So within 3 weeks, the close rate went from 20% all the way to 38%, right? And the revenue jumped without more leads. Leads were already coming in. Most people say, hey, it's the problem with the leads. But the problem wasn't with leads. The problem was that his sales process was the actual problem, right? So same leads, same offer, different call structure, completely different revenue, okay? So what you should do now, if this is currently the problem for you, right? Here's a simple fix. Step 1, track your actual talk time. Most closers don't do that. Most founders don't do that. They jump on a call randomly. They're kind of like, well, you know what? I'm just going to wing it. Let me ask a couple questions. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, see you later. Then close. It's bad lead. Let me get to the next lead. Oh, this lead paid me. It's a good lead because they paid me. But then, like, you don't even track your calls. You don't even see what's happening on the calls. You don't even know how many questions do you actually ask on a call. Like, I'm going to ask you a question. On average, how many questions do you ask on a call? Most of you currently are thinking about the answer, right? You should know how many questions you ask. Most of you don't know. And the reason you don't know is because you don't track your calls, right? And so if you're over 30 to 40%, right, that's your first problem. If you're doing talking like over 30, 40%, it's a huge problem. I usually stay in the rule of like, it's already hard to do, 20-80. I do 20% of talking, they do 80% of talking, right? Step 2, use this call structure exactly. Don't change it. Use it, thank me later. So when you open a call, set agenda for the call, build a light report, but not report like, hey, what's the weather like, where are you from, blah, 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 blah. And that doesn't do anything. Report means show them actual value, that you listen, you care about them. How do we do that? We tell them, hey, I looked at your application, boom, boom, I studied it, I saw that you currently need potentially outside help to generate more leads inside of your business. Let me walk you through how this actually works. Now there's value because you actually care about them to do some homework on them. Most people, when they jump on, hey, John, how are you? Where are you calling from? Oh, you're calling from London. Oh, what's the weather like in London? Oh, yeah, great. Let's just get in the call. It's like they know you don't care about London or you don't care about them, like, right? So instead of saying that, you show them something different from what everybody else is showing them, okay? So then the second part is you diagnose current situation, problem, and impact. And then the third one is the gap, where they want to be and what is stopping them. And only then, once you have gone through 1, 2, and 3, you show them the solution, right? Then the step 3, use these 3 core questions. What's been happening the last few months? What's actually is frustrating you about what has been happening in the last 3 months? What do you think is actually causing it? This is really important because these 3 questions will help you get to the root of the actual problem. Step 4, slow down. So silence is not awkward. Most people feel like awkward when somebody's not talking. Silence is actually a thinking process. And silence has sometimes more power than just words itself, okay? Because thinking equals buying. And here's the most business owners, most people miss, okay? Even if you fix your sales call, if your pipeline isn't predictable or your fulfillment breaks when you scale, you will always stay stuck anyway, okay? So it's important that your systems are also fixed. If you want the full breakdown of how to fix your client acquisition system and add 100K in monthly recurring revenue, go to my Instagram right now. It is in the description just there about the YouTube, and DM me the word roadmap, and I will send you the full scaling roadmap and show you exactly what to fix based on where you are currently inside of your business and where you are currently and what is actually needed in order for you to get to the next stage. And most importantly, what systems go inside of your business to scale your business to actual 100K a month. Now, if you really enjoyed this video and you got a value from it and you want more content like this, right now is the right time for you to subscribe to my channel, because I post about 1 to 3 videos every single week about systemization and what systems need to be installed, what processes go inside of the businesses, so you can actually scale anywhere between 20 all the way to 100K a month. If you also enjoy this video, smash like as well. You're not going to only help me with the algorithm, you're going to help me to build my brand so I can help more people like you to actually grow and scale their businesses.